Have you ever been part of a massive, super expensive, and absolutely critical business transformation that just completely failed? I mean, companies pour millions, sometimes billions, into these huge initiatives that are supposed to revolutionize everything. And then they stall, they get misaligned, or they just fizzle out. Well, today we're going to unpack the hidden reason why this happens so often. And you know what? It all comes down to a problem of sight.
So, here's how we're going to get to the bottom of this. First, we'll look at the transformation trap and see why so many businesses get caught. Then, we're going to learn how to see the organization's backbone and uncover all the hidden layers of work that create so much chaos. We'll explore why this is all just too complex for any one person to grasp. And finally, we'll see how connecting every single dot creates the one true map your organization absolutely needs to succeed. Okay, so let's start with a feeling that is probably way too familiar in boardrooms everywhere. You've got this brilliant strategy, right? A super dedicated team, a big budget, but then progress just stops. It grinds to a halt. Why does this keep happening over and over again?
I mean, this is the question that keeps leaders up at night. Why do different departments somehow end up working against each other? How is it possible that we find out we've invested twice in the exact same thing? And why does all that amazing energy at the beginning of a project just disappear? Turns out, these aren't a bunch of separate problems. They're all symptoms of the same disease. And this frustrating cycle right here is the result. You get these conflicting initiatives pulling teams in totally different directions. You get redundant investments that are just a huge waste of money. And of course, those slow, grinding transformation projects that feel like they're never, ever going to deliver. And it's all because the critical risks and dependencies were completely hidden from view. The result is always the same. You spend a ton of money for a really weak impact.
To really get to the root cause, we have to understand how a business is built from the ground up. We have to start by seeing its skeleton, its most basic, fundamental form.
And that skeleton? That's the value chain. Just think of it as the core sequence of steps your company takes to create value. From the first spark of an idea all the way to a happy customer. It's the essential pathway. And honestly, a lot of businesses are pretty good at mapping this out. But this is where the trouble begins. Because here's the crucial point. A skeleton is not a living, breathing thing. Just knowing your value chain gives you a dangerously incomplete picture. Most leaders are only seeing tiny fragments, their department's view, or a single process, or maybe just their one project. Nobody is seeing the whole living system. All right, so now let's build on that skeleton, because this is where we find all the hidden complexity. It's the place where the real work happens, and frankly, where most transformations go to die. We call these things overlays. So if the value chain is the skeleton, these overlays are the muscles, the nerves, the circulatory system. They are the operational reality of your business, the people, the technology, the data, all the stuff that actually makes the skeleton move and function. It all starts with something simple, a single process, one step in your value chain. Let's take onboard new customer. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But then you have to layer on the actual people who do the work. Which teams touch this? Sales? Customer success? Compliance? Suddenly, it's not so simple anymore. And what about the systems those teams are using? A CRM, a billing platform, maybe some verification tool? Every single one of these applications has to work together perfectly. Oh, and then there's the data. What information is flowing between all these systems? Is it accurate? Is it secure? Is it even available in real time? This right here is a massive point of failure for so many companies. And it just keeps going. You have to think about the potential for AI, the cybersecurity risks at every step, the specific skills your people need, the project dependencies. The list of these connected overlays just goes on and on and on. And being blind to how all these interconnected layers work together, well, this is what it causes. You get poor decisions because you're missing the full context. You deploy AI in places where it doesn't actually help. Projects start clashing with each other. Huge skills gaps are completely ignored, and major cyber risks just lie there, dormant, hidden deep inside your processes. Now, you might be thinking, come on, why don't a bunch of smart people just get in a room and figure all this out? The answer is actually pretty simple, and it has nothing to do with a lack of talent. This table really gets to the heart of the problem. Every single team sees the organization through its own specialized lens. The process people, they just see processes. The tech teams, they just see systems. Cyber teams see risks. Strategy teams, they're looking at high-level slide decks.
Each view is correct, but it's only one tiny piece of the puzzle.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's not that people are wrong, it's that their view is completely fragmented. And when everyone is looking through their own narrow little window, nobody sees the full picture of how the company truly works. And let's be really clear about this. This is not a failure of your people. It's a cognitive impossibility. The human brain simply cannot hold 10 plus overlays across dozens of processes, across multiple value chains, and mentally track how they all interact and change over time. It's just too much.
So if we can't possibly hold all this complexity in our heads, how do we ever hope to manage it? Well, the answer is making a huge shift, moving away from a siloed perspective to a true systems view.
This comparison just makes the difference crystal clear. On the left, you've got transformation as usual, where the full system is invisible, all those overlays are disconnected, and risks just pop up out of nowhere. But on the right, you have an intelligent view, a single, unified map where every overlay is connected, all the dependencies are visualized, and you can even run what-if scenarios to guide your decisions. It's the difference between guessing and knowing.
And this brings us to what is really a new mandate for leadership in this day and age. Having this complete, living, breathing map of your organization. It isn't a nice to have anymore. It's the absolute core of effective strategy and execution. So what's the big takeaway here? Winning today, especially in the age of AI, isn't about running a bunch of separate, one-off projects anymore. It's about being able to see your entire value system, to understand how all those overlays interact, to quantify the impact of any change before you make it, and to run transformation as a continuous, intelligent process. And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. When you consider your company's most important strategic goals, are they based on a true, interconnected map of how your business actually works? Or are you trying to navigate in the dark with just one piece of the puzzle, just hoping you don't crash into something you couldn't see? The answer to that question could be the difference between failure and a true breakthrough.